Namaskar friends, I welcome you all back to video 11 of week 9. In this video, we'll discuss about risk communication and offender intent. Friends, we'll talk about when words announce risk before actions do. We'll explore one of the most sensitive and impactful areas of forensic linguistics, that is risk communication. Offenders often reveal that their intent long before they act. Through letters, social media posts, phone calls, emails, or interrogation statements, they leave linguistic traces that signal escalation, they signal planning, or maybe emotional volatility. Understanding these signals helps investigators intervene early and helps courts assess danger accurately. Friends, we need to understand that what is risk communication? Risk communication refers to the linguistic expression of potential harm, whether it is deliberate, accidental, impulsive, or carefully planned. Friends, it includes direct threats, implied threats, self harm statements, violent ideations, and escalating grievances narratives. Unlike casual speech, risk communication carries predictive value. Offenders rarely articulate risk in one isolated message. Friends, it emerges across patterns, tones, vocabulary, and discourse structures. Let's understand direct versus indirect threats by understanding the spectrum of intent. Direct threats include statements like, I will kill him, or you are next. They are explicit, highly actionable, and legally significant. On the other hand, indirect threats operate differently. They appear as metaphor, implication, conditional phrases, or veiled suggestions. People like you disappear. You won't like what happens next. It's time, things end. Quote unquote. Such kind of statements represent indirect threats. Friends, indirect threats require contextual decoding. They may reveal hostility, grievance build-up, or early stage planning. Now, we need to understand about escalation markers, how language reveals growing danger. Friends, escalation can be detected through shifts in tone, number one, from frustration to rage. Number two, the content, from complaints to violent ideation. Third one is pronoun use, from generalized blame to targeted hostility. And modality, from hypothetical to inevitable phrasing. For instance, an offender may move from I am tired of this to this ends tonight. See the difference between these two sentences. Such shifts demonstrate increased risk. Linguists identify these patterns across multiple messages, revealing trajectory rather than isolated emotions. Friends, let's talk about planning language. The language footprint of premeditation. Planning language indicates premeditation. Offenders may not explicitly outline their plan, but they leak subtle clues like time markers, after midnight, before morning, likewise. Or they may leak resource references. For example, the thing is ready I got what I needed. Location hints like near his place, that corner spot, likewise, or collaborative cues, they are waiting, and then we understand everything. These signals require contextual interpretation. Friends, planning language increases the severity of risk even when expressed cautiously. Now, let's talk about linguistic signs of imminent harm. Friends, imminent harm often appears when messages suddenly become shorter, more direct, or emotionally flat. Offenders may stop using hedging words, switch from past to future tense, drop politeness markers, or adopt a mechanical tone. The calmness of imminent harm is often more dangerous than the prior rage. Linguists must recognize these tonal pivots as they indicate readiness to act. Friends, leakage occurs when offenders reveal violent intent through unrelated conversations or online content. In modern contexts, these appear in cryptic captions. You must have come across lots of such kind of social media messages that X or Y or Z person shared a cryptic message. We are talking about such kind of cryptic captions here. Song lyrics implying revenge, emoji chains signaling aggression, or grievance stories framed as self-expression. Friends, these indirect signals often precede acts of violence. Forensic linguists examine digital discourse patterns to understand emotional buildup. Let's understand this with an example of workplace shooters escalation emails. In an anonymized case, the future offender sent emails that transitioned from polite complaints to accusatory narratives and eventually to explicit, into bracket, into inverted comma, I can tell you, you will regret this. This were the phrasing. Pronouns shifted from we to you, marking personalized hostility. Modality shifted from possibility, that is might, to inevitability to will. Linguistic analysis helped investigators identify escalation and take precautionary action. On the other case, related to domestic violence escalation revealed through messaging apps. In a domestic violence case, threats evolved gradually. Initially framed as emotional dependency, that is, I can't live without you, such kind of messages became controlling, like you belong to me. And then the coercive, if you leave, no one will be safe. Just imagine the transition. I can't live without you to you belong to me, and then if you leave, no one will be safe. The progression revealed escalation and this escalating possessiveness. Linguistic assessment demonstrated risk level far beyond what individual messages suggested. Friends, we need to understand that how to distinguish dangerous speech from frustration with reference to intent versus emotional venting. Not all angry speech indicates violent intent. Offenders may vent emotionally without intending harm. Linguists distinguish anger from intent by analyzing temporal markers, specificity of target, consistency across messages, and whether the speaker frames their words as metaphor or literal threat. Understanding these distinctions prevents misclassification of impulsive speech as high risk violence. Now let's talk about how linguists contribute to threat assessment teams. Threat assessment requires collaboration across psychology, law enforcement, and linguistics, wherein the linguists contribute by identifying escalation trajectories, interpreting coded threats, analyzing digital discourse, clarifying intent behind ambiguous statements, and evaluating likelihood of action based on linguistic behavior. Their insights help prevent harm through early intervention. Now, we need to understand the ethical duty in communicating risk. Ethical reporting is crucial. Linguists must avoid overestimation that causes unnecessary alarm or underestimation that leads to tragedy. Reports emphasize probability, ambiguity, mitigating factors, and contextual nuance. Friends, ethical clarity protects both the public and the individual being assessed. I would only say that the words predict the behavior. The condition is if we can read them responsibly. Friends, risk communication is one of the most powerful predictive tools in forensic linguistics. When we read language carefully, patterns emerge. Patterns that can help prevent violence, understand the intent, and inform judicial decisions. We are coming to the end of this video. While closing the session, I would only say that I am very much grateful to you people for joining me on this video session. In the next session, we'll deepen this exploration through linguistic markers of radicalization and ideological escalation, advancing your expertise in behavioral linguistics. Friends, until I catch you in the next video, stay tuned with the course. Till then, thank you very much. Namaskar.